Hello, so continuing on exercism problem. So today's problem is robot name. It's a medium. So basically we want to manage a robot factory settings. And basically the idea is that we want to generate a random name that contains two uppercase letters and 3 digits. So something like RX837 or BC811. And these needs to be random, right? And so every once in a while, the robot keeps the name until we reset it, right? Until a reset function is called. So the name gets wiped and we need to replace it with a new name. Now the names need to be random, and they should not follow a predictable sequence. So basically just they should be random. And each solution must have a unique name. So this part here is important, right? Basically, this means that if you create a new instance of robot, right, and you generate a name for it, and you create another instance, the two names we have to make sure that they are always unique, right? So that's the idea. Now let's take a look at an implementation. So the first, again, we'll follow the same pattern where the first thing we will do is we will see the first solution and then go from there. So the first solution, we definitely, the first thing to notice is that since we want the names to be unique, right, even if we define a new robot instance, we have to have the list, we have to store the set of names used so far in a set, and that set has to be outside of the class itself. So you could either create a companion object and put it there, or put it outside of the class itself, right? So that if we create, let's say, the first robot instance, right, it's called R1, and then we create another one, we guarantee that the names we get are going to be different across instances, right? So that's why we define it outside. And then when we initialize a robot instance, we generate a unique name for it. And that unique name, we'll see it in a second here, what we do. But when we reset also the robot, we want to generate a new unique name for it. Okay, so to generate a unique name, we want to make once we get a random name that follows the structure the problem asks us to do, which is two uppercase letters and 3 digits. So once we follow that structure and generate a random name with that, like here, we want to check if it exists in the names we've generated so far. If it does, then we want to create a new random name because we don't want to reuse an existing name, right? And then once we are able to generate a random name that doesn't exist already, we add it to the list of the names, to the set of names, so that next time we don't use it, right? Next time when we are creating a new robot or we are resetting, we don't use a name that we've used before. So that's this function just makes sure that the name is unique. Now, this function calls this random name to generate the actual name, to generate this value here, right? So how does it do it? So we want 2 letters, 2 uppercase letters, and so that's what this does here. It repeats 2 times, so we create the name string. It's immutable, and then we do it 2 times, we do the following here. And basically, since we want only uppercase letters, we take from A to Z and pick a random value between this range, right? So random just gives you a random element in the character range. So it just will give us a random element between A and Z. And then once we get it, we add it to the name and do that 2 times. So this will just generate 2 uppercase letters. And we do a similar thing for the digits, but digits we need 3 digits, right? And so digits from 0 to 9, right? We pick a random one and then we do it 3 times and we add it to the name. And then at the end, the name will contain 2 uppercase letters, 3 digits, we return it. Okay, and that's pretty much how we do the random name. So that's the implementation here. Now, just to show you here with this name why it works fine, because if you look at the test cases we have, so random, let's call it robot test or something. So the test cases that we get from exercism, you can see here it does 100,000 iterations, right? And each time it creates a new robot instance. And so we have to have the names set outside of it so that it works here, right? So if we create a new instance of robot, we will not use an existing name, because if we do, then this distinct here will fail, right? So that's the idea there. Now, can we improve something? Well, yes, whenever you have mutability, think about avoiding it. So we can probably get rid of this, improve this function here. So let's see how to do that. Okay, so we have two parts. We have the uppercase letters, yeah, and then we have the digits, right? And so instead of doing what we are doing here, where we take the name and then we append to it, well, let's just do a map. So we know we want 2, so 2 is just from 1 up to 2. So we just map so that we do it twice. And then we return, we do the same thing we did here for AZ random. So that's what we are doing here. But then we get 2 letters, so we get A, B. So here what was helped is that each time we add the letter. And so here we have a map, so that will give us a list. So it will give us something, let's say if we choose... if randomly we get B and X, then we'll get a list like this. So we want to join it in a string using an empty separator so that we get BX, which is what the problem actually wants here, right? And so once we do that, we map and we convert it to a string. Okay, so we can remove this. Now for the second part, similarly, we do from 1 to 3, so that let's say if we get 1, 4, 5, right, we can get a string out of it, so that would be something like 1, 4, 5, right? And that's pretty much it for the second part. And then we just concatenate both. If we get BX and 1, 4, 5, right, then we just concatenate them, and that way we get this name. So that's the you can see this one is a lot better because we don't have this weird mutable name. And then we can just add them together, and this is functional, just uses map and join to string, and the rest stays the same, right? So we improved this function. Now another improvements we can make here is that this is a little bit hard to read, right? And also it's repetitive with both, right? So we can create an extension function to make this easier for us. So we want a random sample, right? That's what we want. We want a random sample from this that has a count of 2. So maybe we can make this called count that has a count of 2, right? And so we can just have this extension function random sample on any iterable. So if you take a look here, these here gives you an iterable of letters, and so we want to convert it to a list just because we want to get the size here. But the essential idea is that we have this extension function that makes this readable, and so the extension function here just goes from 0 to the count. So that would be, for example, from 0 to 2, less than 2, so 0, 1, so we do it 2 times. And we do the same map we did before, the same map we did here, right? And then we just, however, the way we do the random, get the random is different, but we still do join to string like we did here in the same way, right? But the way we get random is a little bit different. How? Well, what we can do is just have a random object here, and that random you just give it next int, and you give it the range to give you the random number in, right? And so that's what we are doing here, and this will just choose the range is just the size. So the range of A to Z is just the size of these, right? I think 26. And so we just pick a number between 0 and 26. And then we get that number from this list, right? And so if we get 3, we'll pick C. If we get 4, we'll pick D. And you get the idea there. And so that's what we have here. And that should be it from this implementation. Now, what's nice is that this function here is really readable, right? And we can reuse it multiple times. So if later we get, maybe we want to add, I don't know, let's say we have a list of like prefixes, maybe A, B, C, D, E, F, and a couple of them, and then we want to just pick a random sample out of these of size 1. And so it's in that way, and appended. So in that way, it would be really easy to do, right? So that's the idea here. and the rest stays the same. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much what I wanted to cover, at least for this problem. Please like and subscribe, and see you on the next one. Bye.